On this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone, we're going to talk about this Wednesday night war between AEW Dynamite and NXT. We're going to talk about who had the better show, AEW's Fyter Fest or WWE's NXT's The Great American Bash. So that's going to come up, but we're also going to have some news updates that I'm going to reveal for all of you that's been happening. So let's get started with this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Alright, this week's Wednesday Night War has become interesting. As you all know, not too long ago, AEW decided to throw in Fyter Fest. Originally, Fyter Fest was supposed to be in London, another pay-per-view event, but due to the crisis, the pandemic happening all over the world, they couldn't do that. So they decided to do it in Daly's place in Jacksonville instead, on AEW time. It's still AEW Dynamite, but it's actually Fyter Fest. And a few weeks ago, this was announced that WWE decided to bring back the Great American Bash and use that on NXT. And people were calling that as a way of counter programming. You may be right, but you got to remember, it's all about the viewership. WWE have been trying to have fans who are watching AEW to switch to NXT. Now, we can talk about how many times it worked. We know they tried to do this before back last year with Fight for the Falling, and they had the Evolve show. But it didn't work out that way. They even tried many ways. Now, we can agree on what's happening, but the real question is, who won the viewership? Who won the rating? So, drum roll please. And the winner for the viewership is NXT. So they got the viewership of 792,000 views, while AEW Dynamite had 748,000 views, which is not bad. Even though the AEW had went down 15%. I mean, it's not bad from what I'm looking at. And of course, NXT went up 1%. You know, I don't think it makes a difference. But who won the rating, demographic rating? Drum roll, please. Winners of the rating, AEW. They got the rating of 0.29, NXT 0.22. So basically it's kind of like a tie, but you guys do have opinions. You can talk to me how it goes with who won, you know, like who had the better matches, who had the better stories. It's always the same. The fans always win. You know, I can talk to you WWE hardcore fans out there saying, yes, WWE is better. Screw AEW. That's your opinion. But those are who love all promotions like myself. I'm one of those guys. But I have to say both shows were good. But there are some matches I didn't feel too compelled. Some matches I did like. Some good storylines. We're going to go all of that from start to finish. So, and I will give you guys my final thoughts once the whole segment's done. So, let's start with AEW Dynamite. Or should I say, Fyter Fest. Alright, so let's talk about AEW Dynamite slash Fyter Fest. This is the first night for both shows. So let's start from start to finish. It started out with Chris Jericho going to commentary, but if you guys have noticed or not, or on Twitter or Facebook, it was also Happy Canada Day. If you all know, Chris Jericho is originally from Winnipeg, so he was wearing this sort of jacket with the Canadian colors, which, you know, I don't mind. You know, of course, if you guys are from you know, other countries, and you're living in the United States, you know, you got to celebrate no matter what, how it is. But yeah, that's how it was. Now the first match, it was MJF and Wardlow versus Jurassic Express's Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, along with Marco Stunt. But before the match started, MJF throwing this amazing promo, how he was talking about Jack Perry counting his dad's money. He did saying that the ratings are important, that they're giving him the opportunity to raise the ratings up. He knows how it is, and that's how it goes. It starts out where Jungle Boy was coming after MJF for insulting him, saying things about his dad. I thought it was a good match. I just enjoyed it. Like the best moments, I have to say, is when you see both, each of the like the smaller guy and the bigger guys are fighting each other. Like we can talk about Luchasaurus and Warlow. Like who could forget about the lumberjack match last week? That was a good one, and it was great, and I enjoyed every moment. Of course, Marco Stunt was trying to help as much as possible, but it didn't work. And the best moment is when what's his name, MJF had that diamond ring that he won from last year. He was about to whack I think it was Luchasaurus, or so he was about to make the punch, but he almost stopped and he yells at Warlow, "Can't you do anything right?" And bam, he got kicked in the arm and whacked Warlow, and that kind of messed things up. And it gave Luchasaurus to finish him off as much as possible. And he picked up victory, and Jungle Boy made sure MJF stayed down. And that kind of ended. I have to say it was a good match. I'm not going to lie, because this is an interesting dynamic how this match was. I've always been a big fan of of the tag team division. I enjoyed this, and of course they walked away with the victory. And MJF was saying that this match doesn't count. He's undefeated. You're undefeated as a single competitor, not a tag team competitor. So we don't know for sure if this would lead to Warlow no longer being MJF's bodyguard because of his antics, but you may never know. Next match, they throw in a little video package between the tensions. Well, actually, this happened like right after the match. There was tensions between Joe and Janela and Lance Archer. As you know, they're booked to set up in the match the following week on this night 2 of Fyter Fest. Joey Janela got knocked down by Lance Archer, so he's going to get his payback. And now we can't wait to see how that's going to go. Then we had a little recap they throw in with with Hikaru Shida and Ford. Now, this was an interesting match. We all know that there's certain things about the women's division AEW, but I have to say this one, for the for the Women's World Championship between Hikaru Shida and Penelope Ford, was amazing. I'm not going to deny exactly how it is. I have to say Penelope Ford put a lot of work on this one. I have to say she made herself look good. Like certain great spots and moments that she played out, and I have to say it was a great moment. Even though I think my best moment is when Kip Sabian was asked to leave because he was antagonizing Hikaru Shida, and Aubrey Edwards told him to leave, and he threw him out. He came out at some point trying to ensure that Hikaru Shida is knocked down because he took her kendo stick. She blocked it, kicked him. The kendo stick flew up in the air. She catched it and whacked Hikaru Shida, Kip Sabian out. And of course, the best moments is when Hikaru Shida applied the Falcon Arrow on Penelope Ford, not once, but twice, and she kicked out. That intensity is what I was feeling, when I saw that. I thought it was some great moments. I mean, I felt like, wow, it's great. I love it. And then, of course, that's the same thing that Penelope Ford did on Shida with her move, with the cross cutter, or whatever move she was doing. Same thing. Great moments where they kicked out. It's like the intensity. Like, it brings me back when we go see New Japan when, we reach the 30 mark, someone has to win. But Hikaru Shida picked up the victory with the knee kick and a Falcon Arrow. So it finally took her down. But, like I said, Penelope Ford did a great job. She really, really impressed me. I think we do see down the line in the future she could become a women's champion for AEW. I don't know when that will be, but it will happen sooner or later. So let's move on to the next. Taz throwing this little video promo where he talks about Jon Moxley's paradigm shift, where he claims that there is no way he could apply that to Brian Cage because of his size. Frankly, he has a point. But for Moxley, he knows how to get out of it. So we just gotta wait and see when that happens. Now the next match, this one is for the AEW TNT Championship. This was a match that was already been where Jake Hager decided to take a shot at Cody, and he wanted a match. All he had to do was ask, but he decided, I'm gonna get my shot. And I don't care who you are. But this showed a bit more of a wrestling standpoint. Is Hager, he's an amateur wrestler, MMA, you know, any type of fighting skills, and he's undefeated in Bellator, and I think in MMA in general. And you look at Cody, he does have a bit of the amateur wrestling background before becoming the wrestler that we know now. So this was a great match. I'm not gonna lie how it's gonna be, and it was unbelievable. But of course, you got to remember, Hager was accompanied by his wife Catalina. She wanted to ensure. I was hoping Brandy was gonna be there because I would have loved to see the two wives go at it. I don't know if you guys would have liked that too, because I don't know if anybody. I don't think anybody talked about that, and I for one, love to see that. But of course, Arn Anderson was there, the head coach, the advisor. That's what he did. But the best moments I did like is where Cody did a little springboard cutter on Hager, and it was a great balance. I love that. But the biggest shocker is the end of the match, where Hager applied the triangle sleeper hold on Cody, but without realizing, Cody used that on his advantage. Hager had him, and he got himself on the back. Both shoulders were pinned. And when that happened, ref counted 1, 2, 3. Match was over. Cody retained. Hager thought in his righteous mind that he won, but referee told him your shoulders were down. So, in a way, Cody might have used that under his advantage, but he got unconscious. And post match, Hager was not too pleased with the fact that he lost that way. That he thought he was robbed, that he was stolen. Because we did see Dustin Rhodes help out the match, but he thought that his submission move was gonna put him out, but it didn't. So basically, ref didn't see that. He just saw Hager had his shoulders down, and because of that, he punched the referee and left with extreme match. I do see somewhere down the line that he's gonna demand for a rematch, but I don't know exactly what he has planned. Now I can predict that he could put a submission match. That is one of those applying no pinfalls. I think he would want to do something in his favor. We've seen matches where there's submissions or knockouts. That's always been one of those scenarios that I've seen in the past. But it did announce on many news outlets that Hager is suspended for 10 days. He's been fined for punching the official. So, well, you did that to yourself, Hager. Now we go for the next thing. We have Darby Allin. He's still not medical cleared. Oh my God. But you do see him skateboarding. That's his medication right there. I love it. But of course, he still is in that funk, as always. I don't blame him. Then we have an interview with Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. Now, we do know that they are the current... no, I skip ahead. I'll go back to it later. The next thing we see is Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy shows up. He goes right by the commentators section. He sits right there. Chris Jericho is going out, cursing and yelling at him, but they're trying to tell him, keep your cool. We know you're pissed. We know you don't like him. So Jericho's trying to stay calm as much as possible. But he was only there because he wanted to see the match between Proud and Powerful, Santana, and Ortiz of the Inner Circle versus Private Party, along with Matt Hardy, as we now call them, Party Hardy, or Hardy Party, however it is. It was a great match. I have to say, this one was one of the best matches that Private Party has ever been in. Now, this was amazing. We do know that these guys have a good... I think Matt Hardy's playing role as a coach and advisor for them because they do too many high spots, too many fast moves because they don't slow down. But if you look at Hardy, his expertise helps them a lot, and they did certain moves that like homaging Hardy and his brother. That's something because I've always been a fan of the Hardy Boys for a long time. But it was unbelievable. I loved it, and of course, every move they did, it was amazing. But they were keeping it a bit of a slow pace. We know how fast these guys can get. But of course, the victory goes to Private Party, and I have to say, this match was awesome. I enjoyed everything about it. You know, um, I just hope they. Well, it's already been announced that whoever wins between Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the Best Friends, Private Party will face those guys coming up at the following week of night 2. Then we had the interview with Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. Now we do know they have there are a bit of different dynamic between them, and of course they claim that the result will be the same. There's no denying that the Best Friends are one of the best tag teams right now, and they've always shown that. So they said that it will be the same result. Now, we do have a promo that came out. It's been announced that due to John Moxley not being there, as you all know, uh, he was worried that he contracted the coronavirus, but it wasn't that. His wife did. He got himself tested twice. It came up negative, but he still doesn't want to risk anybody's. But it was postponed for another event 2 weeks time in Fight for the Fallen. Um, I'll explain to that later. And of course, Taz comes out, gives an interesting promo saying that you were tested twice. But he did stated something about a sloppy job. He was referring to WWE. If you all recall, a few of the people from their staff and the performance centers trainees, they were all infected, and that kind of showed Taz taking a shot at them. And of course, it was revealed, I think yesterday, no, was it today, that Vince and several other people are not too thrilled with Taz said. I mean, look, we cannot deny what happened, but that's a story for another time. Now let's jump into the main event, which was for the AEW World Tag Team titles. We see the Best Friends come out in a minivan, and the person driving the minivan was Trent's mom. I'm like, wow. And then we see the Hangman Page and Kenny. Great match, I'm not gonna lie. But I think the best moment is with our FTR coming out right in front. Now, there are those that said they could have joined commentary, but I think they were enjoying themselves. They brought some beer along, it's like you're in the park or something. It was really cool. But great match between them. I know there was some spots that were amazing. Of course, the best moment is when Hangman did the last remaining parts of the match by himself. I don't know if that's the indication that Kenny and Hangman might break up, because that's sort of like a bit of the intention. I mean, I would have loved to see the Best Friends win because I felt like they should have just dropped the titles, give it to them. But I think there's a different story they want to jump into, find a way to drop the titles. I think maybe we're getting to that because if you notice, post-match, FTR comes out. They give both Kenny and Hangman a beer. Now, we all know Kenny is straight edge. He doesn't drink beer. As soon as he tossed the beer outside the ring, it did not please FTR one bit. So they got into his face, but the Bucks were trying to maintain a peace. They're trying to tell him, hey, Kenny doesn't drink. He's straight edge. So it kind of leads to another type of feud. We don't know. Square Circle Psychobound made an interesting point. What if Hangman decides he's going to leave the Elite and possibly join FTR? Who knows? I mean, that would be interesting to see. I'm always interested to see new things that happens, when wrestlers should have done things like that. But I know there are people say the Elite should break up. But I think that's what I got right now for AEW. So let's right now jump in to NXT's The Great American Bash. Alright, so let's talk about NXT's The Great American Bash. Now, we can agree that they were using that name to counter program and try to piss off Cody Rhodes due to the fact that that was the name that was created by his dad, the late American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. But let's start with the first match that they had, the Fatal 4-Way match. This one is for the number one contendership for the NXT Women's Championship. It was an elimination match between Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae. Now, this was an interesting dynamic between the two wrestlers. Of course, Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox, former best friends, they now become enemies. And then the same thing with Candice LeRae and Mia Yim. All this and that. But, of course, there were moments where Mia Yim and Tegan Nox will go butt heads. I mean, they're always trying to play it as a friendly competition, but don't forget, you got Tegan Nox who claims that EO doesn't own the NXT division, NXT women's division, that it's going to be her who's going to own it. And of course, Candice LeRae wants to reshape the NXT with her husband under their image. But it was a great match. The first person that was eliminated was Candice LeRae, and then it was Mia Yim. But I think the best moment was between Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox. Reason is because Dakota Kai felt betrayed by Tegan Nox after what happened. We all know about the Tegan Nox's history, where she struggled to get back after a bad injury. But I have to say, the way this went between the two was the best moment, because these are two women. You got Tegan Nox, who's trying to make a name for herself. Dakota Kai felt that she deserved everything. But the best part is that Raquel Gonzalez wasn't even there. So that was the best moment. But I think the way this went, it was unbelievable. Tegan Nox took out Dakota Kai with the shiniest wizard, and she completely is now the number one contender for the women's title. I have to say, Tegan Nox needs a little push. I do like Tegan Nox. I know there's a long shot that she could win the title, but she deserves to be more recognized. We'll just see how they're going to go with it, because I feel that's what she needs at this point. Now, they throw in a little interview with Damian Priest. As you recall, for the past 2 weeks, apparently, Damian Priest had enough of Cameron Grimes, where he slashes tires, because Cameron Grimes is still making fun of Damian Priest for losing to Finn Balor, and Damian Priest later was attacked by Cameron Grimes, when they were scheduling the match together, and he broke his ribs. So he's asking him for another match, no more games, no more trying to slash tires or whatever. So that's how it's going to be. The next match, we went a bit old school on this one. Now, you can say old school is boring as much as you want, but you cannot deny it's always been a fantastic way. As you all know, this was a match between Timothy Thatcher and Oney Lorcan. Now, there was no story build-up, but they both have the same kind of bread of fighting style. Timothy Thatcher is more of a catch wrestling performer, and Oney Lorcan was more of the brawler. I have to say, this match was unbelievable good. I enjoyed it. It's okay to throw in a bit of the old school, but the only thing that kind of draw back for me is the storytelling. There was not enough story time between both Timothy Thatcher and Oney Lorcan. I felt they could have done that sooner, but no. But the match itself was great. I mean, it's the same kind of scenario that was played with AJ Styles and Finn Balor during that one match that they had. I was like, there was no storytelling, but a great match. I have to say, it's the same dynamic. But of course, Timothy Thatcher won the match. And then we jump in with a little Karrion Kross. Now he is saying TikTok. Time is coming up. So he can't wait to get his hands on the NXT Championship. So we don't know who's going to win between Adam Cole and Keith Lee. That's going to be interesting. Then we jump in with the match. Well, some people say it was a bit boring because the way it was a handicap match between Rhea Ripley and Aaliyah, between Aaliyah and Robert Stone. I felt this was not a match because I'm not a fan of the whole thing with Robert Stone that much. You know, like I don't know what led to Chelsea Green leave or anything. Like why they decide okay she's not going to be with him, but he's got Aaliyah. He did state it that if Rhea Ripley loses, she will have no other choice but to join the Robert Stone brand. But I'll just skip ahead. Rhea Ripley won. Two things that made it fun. She actually grabbed Aaliyah and tossed him right on his man joints, which is not good. And then she put both of them in the submission move at the same time, which is, I mean, it was a boring match. Now the next match, I have to say this one was the best one of the night. Roderick Strong and Dexter Lumis in a strap match. Um, I love the story how Roderick Strong is still getting nightmares over Dexter Lumis. Everything got thrown in that trunk. Great match. I love it how Dexter Lumis. I have become a Dexter Lumis fan. I love the way he slithers in and out, the way he looks at your opponent. You know, that's always been one of those scary moments. Like he's like a psychopathic serial killer if you look at it that way. But it was amazing. And of course, moments like this where you see Roderick, he was about to put Roderick Strong again in the trunk, but with a different car. I think it was the Viper or so. I'm not sure what it was, but it was so great. And then finally he ended putting Roderick Strong in his submission move, the silencer, but first he had to put the strap all over his mouth, and he won by that. I have to say, Dex Lumis, I do see him that he could one day be the NXT champion. You know, he's that one guy we definitely need. You know, as he's not a heel or a face, he's just a creepy guy who lurks in. I don't know if you guys can see that too. I mean, I like his character. I love how he was doing this. Then we had this interesting video package with Keith Lee and Adam Cole. They both get a compliment on each other, but the real question is, who is going to come on top? And I have to say, this is one of those questions that we need to be answered. Then we jump in the backstage with Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano. Candice LeRae not too pleased with the results, how this was a 3-on-1 scenario. I'm like, come on. You had Mia Yim, who you know has in it. And then, as a moment later, Candice LeRae get in the face of Mia Yim. Isaiah Swerve Scott tried to intervene. He tried to grab Candice to get her away from Mia Yim. Johnny Gargano didn't like that. Like, he didn't like the fact that he touched his wife, but at the same time, it's none of his business what's going on. You know, I'm not sure if they're going to put those two, Scott and Gargano, in a match, but I presume they will somewhere down the line where Gargano comes out insulting him and doing a promo during NXT, either next week or the weeks to come. Then we have Legado del Fantasma, you know, Santos Escobar, formerly known as Hijo del Fantasma, along with his flunkies, Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. Now, he feels that people treat Lucha Libre like a joke, a disgraceful joke. I mean, and he says that he's going to reshape the Lucha Libre under his image. And Drake Maverick, who we remember was put through a table, breaking his neck or something, came out and tried to get his hands on Escobar. Escobar tells him that he is still untouchable. But out of nowhere, here comes Breezango coming to his aid to help him. And that kind of made Santos Escobar leave as he was running. But later it's been revealed that next week on the night 2 of the Great American Bash, it's going to be Breezango teaming with Drake Maverick versus Legado del Fantasma. This is going to be one interesting match to watch. Then we had an interview with Cameron Grimes. Now, Cameron Grimes, we all know he's cocky. We know he talks too much. He goes out saying that he doesn't need to be in a match against Damian Priest. He said that he is more interested in facing the winner between Adam Cole and Keith Lee. He's now calling his shots. He's like acting like he's a big shot. So he said whoever wins in the winner-take-all match, he's going to take his shot. Cameron Grimes, be careful what you wish for. So that's what I got to say for you, buddy. Now we got a little video. As you all know, recently, Mercedes Martinez has been making headway. She hasn't made an appearance yet, but she threw in a little video package. Next week, she'll make her NXT debut. I can't wait to see her. Now, the main event, it's Sasha Banks with Bayley versus Io Shirai, the current NXT Women's Champion. Um, it was a great moment. I love this match. It was great. I love how this whole thing was turning out. Um, there were some moments where Io Shirai is keeping on Bayley. It was kind of interesting. But I think the best moment is when Bayley saw that Io Shirai put her into submission and tosses the tag team belt right in front of the ref to ensure he just leads away and walks. And when that happened, Sasha tries to grab the other belt. Out of nowhere, here comes Asuka and gives her the green mist. Ref didn't see it. Bayley didn't like that, but of course, Io Shirai took her out. And it was a great moment, and then she finished off with the moonsault. So I'm not sure this has happened. I'm going to mention this a little later. There's talk that there is a possible we may see a new version of the Kabuki Warriors. We're not sure yet, but we just gotta wait until the upcoming weeks what they're gonna go with it. So I think that's it right now we got from NXT. So let's jump in with the final thoughts of both promotions. Alright, so here are my final thoughts. What did I thought about both shows? I have to say both shows were great, but for me I felt the one show that gave me more of the attention was AEW Fyter Fest. Now, you could ask me, you're wrong, dude. Even though AEW had NXT had the much better views, but there's more to that. When I was watching the match between um, Hikaru Shida and Penelope Ford, that one got up my feel. Like I was nervous. I was like, oh my god, that was crazy. Every move that was made in every match, it was great. Every storytelling, how it is, between MJF and Jungle Boy, how the rivalry has been escalating. That is one of those things that I enjoy. And then of course the story with Penelope Ford and Hikaru Shida, Cody, who knows he's facing against a much tougher opponent as he normally faces. That's great storytelling. Every story I enjoy. Now, you can ask me, okay, if that's the case, then what is it about Great American Bash you didn't like? Now, I can go back and forth. Now, I feel with the Fatal 4-Way, it was a good, interesting match, but it could have gone with Dakota Kai and Tegan Knox either way, but it was good, but I like the ending of that match. It was amazing. Like I said, with Timothy Thatcher and Oni Lorcan, there was no story buildup, but it was a good match. I'm not gonna lie, and we went a little old school with that. I've always been fans of some old school stuff, that I've enjoyed for a long time. But what people can ask me, okay, but don't. I think some of you probably ask, okay, what about Taz's promos? There was people that are upset what he said. Like, yes, I mean, we got to keep in mind about that. We got to keep in mind, yes, Taz has had his own opinion, what he thought, but we can agree what WWE did when it comes to doing a sloppy job with testing. That is something we can agree. I mean, that's the same kind of thing what Agent Orange, who doesn't decide to slow down the testing. But that was irresponsible on that part. I think Taz was trying to make a point. Because Moxley, we can all agree he's trying to play smarter. I mean, ask yourselves, do you think he would want to risk his health to other people? No. But you got to understand, you got to play it health. Now, we all know that the Jon Moxley and Brian Cage match is going to take place on July 15th for Fight for the Fallen. Do we think WWE's going to counter program it? I don't know. They are looking for ways to counter program this. That's always been their case. They succeeded doing that with this week, but the real question, what's going to happen on night 2, which is next week? What's going to happen on July 15th when that match between Cage and Moxley go up? I don't know. Are they going to use Starcade? Are they going to use Havoc? Or whatever WCW name they can bring up. I don't know. But anything can happen. You know. But like I said, both shows were great. But to me, I felt AEW had the much better show. I heard from Square Circle Psychobabble they prefer NXT. That's their opinion. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. I know you guys do. So if you guys can tell me which show was better, leave a comment down below, and I want to hear your opinions. So right now, let's end the episode with news updates. Alright, so right now we're doing the news updates for all of you. As you all know, recently this came in from Wrestle Talk. Reports are coming in about Shayna Baszler, about what happened to her after we haven't seen her for quite some time. Originally, what was discovered that she was supposed to win WrestleMania 36 in her match against Becky Lynch. According to sources, Becky Lynch pinched the idea to have Shayna Baszler win. I mean, it would make a lot of sense. I think she wanted to drop the title. I think she felt like the man has to end her reign, which is probably normal for anybody. But we all know how things change. As you all know, Shayna Baszler was from the NXT. She was the dominant NXT Women's Champion. And many fans, like myself, we would have assumed, okay, she would be a bigger star. But it didn't happen. Not a lot of the wrestlers who come from NXT were pushed that much higher, unlike Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura, Kevin Owens, and I can name a few others, but it didn't happen that way. And originally she was supposed to win the Money in the Bank, but it didn't go that way. She also pitched the idea. Paul Heyman was at the time the executive director of Raw. He was behind Shayna Baszler, but we all know how Vince can get when it comes to certain stars that he feels they will never be at the top, or doesn't see them at the top, however the scenario is. It makes no difference for him. But because now that Heyman is gone, Becky's out, on maternity leave, we don't know what's going to happen to Shayna Baszler. I would love to see what she's going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. It's kind of insane. And I think it's kind of sloppy of them not giving her the push she needs. The next up comes in, as you all recall, in the wake of the Speaking Out movement, there's going to be a new law that's being placed in the UK. Apparently, you're not allowed to have a relationship for any trainee against any trainer, instructor, or with a younger person under the age of 18. So this came in reference of Millie McKenzie. If you guys don't know who she is, she's a female wrestler from the UK. She spoke out against Travis Banks, who was our former NXT UK star. Her allegations was that she felt manipulated and that Travis Banks manipulated everything due to the fact that he was her trainee. At the time, she was 17. He was 30. And she felt that he used his power as a trainee to get in a relationship with her, even though they were on amicable speaking terms. But she felt that that he violated that whole trust between instructor and trainee. So there's going to be a new law. No instructor is allowed to fraternize with the trainee under the age of 18. So that law will be in place. So it's a good thing that some people are now paying attention over that. So if you're an instructor in the UK messing around with a girl under age of 18 as an instructor, it's illegal. I don't know exactly what's going to be the law if you get catch on the act. I mean, I would like to know. Next up is we had finally a statement from Michael Elgin. This came in from Pro Wrestling Sheet. As you all know, recently Michael Elgin is no longer part of Impact Wrestling. There were some allegations against him where a girl claimed that Michael Elgin sent her a picture of his manhood. Um, but Michael finally sent a little video saying that he knows what's been going on and he's disturbed, disgusted what these men did to all these girls. But he does say he does not recall the incident that took place. He recalls about this girl that he met. He said that this girl that he met, they were sharing the same bed with four other people. Um, but he doesn't recall exactly what they were saying. They thought he slept with her, all this, but he doesn't recall that happening. And then the same situation happened a few years later where he claimed he was drunk and sent her a picture of his manhood. It's it's clear that he doesn't deny the events, but he doesn't recall the how do I say the incident, how it happened. But he did apologize to that girl, and he feels right now after what's been going on, he felt like he lost his passion for wrestling. It kept him on the straight and narrow. But at the same time, he has to look at the other side where what if people hassle his son, saying, "Oh, did you know your dad what he did?" He doesn't want his son to be brought up into that kind of world, where people will remind him, "Oh, your dad was a despicable person," that type of thing. So he feels that it's probably best for him to step away from wrestling for good, to give a positive life for his son. And I don't blame him, even though we don't know for sure if it's 100% true, if his allegations are true or not, or if he does remember, who knows. So all we can do is give Michael Elgin the best of luck in the world. Hopefully he finds something to do that now that he's gonna step away from wrestling. Now the next one came in from Pro Wrestling Unlimited. As you all know, Kairi Sane, we haven't seen her for quite some time, ever since she got injured. They're in the hands of Nia Jax. Now, the original plan was WWE was going to use her to become as an ambassador in Japan. They were going to send her back to Japan. This was their way of trying to set up a possible NXT Japan. Now, this was something that WWE has talked about. I mentioned this on previous episodes in the past, where they're trying to find a way to set up a foothold, but it has failed on several occasions with purchasing Pro Wrestling Noah, Stardom. But recently, we have been aware that Antonio Inoki and Hiroshi Hase, two political figures in Japanese politics who are involved in wrestling, are on board of the idea. But Kairi Singh is that one person that they want to. But we don't know what's her contract status. We do know WWE are saying that they are interested in having an NXT Japan. But at this point, with the rate of the pandemic, it's going to be impossible. But we did hear that there were rumors saying that Kairi Sane is done with WWE. We don't know when her contract expires or how is that. We were aware as fans that she has been unhappy. She's been on a long distance relationship until she recently got married, and we do know that Bushiroad are interested in having her back to rejoin Stardom because that's where she made her biggest impact before going to WWE. So it's still unclear, but this one I will stay close to it. I will find out more information. Try to keep a pin on this one because it's kind of interesting what's happening and what WWE want to do, and of course where Kairi Sane stands. Now the final news. This one has become an interesting story. It appears that WWE has finally purchased indie promotion Evolve. Now, if you guys are not aware, Evolve has worked with WWE before. They have a working relationship. The founder, Gabe Sapolsky, he's also works as an advisor for NXT. You see, they use Evolve as a way to, how to say, scout new talent, and that's how the whole thing has begun between them. If you all recall, not too long ago, Chelsea Blackheart was in Evolve, and William Regal showed up, and of course, gave her a contract for NXT, and to what we see now, she is now with NXT. Apparently, Sapolsky talked in a private Facebook group meeting that that Evolve is going to be ceasing operations. They haven't done an event since March 1st, since the start of pandemic. They have no intention to keep on going any further since this whole thing happened. But But from what I'm understanding in the revelation after the reports that it was purchased, um, they are, how do I say this? This is from my notes. They include the tape library. Basically, whatever shows Evolve have, it's gonna be on their WWE's tutelage. I'm not sure if they're gonna put that in the WWE network so we can watch it. I mean, we've seen that with ECW. We've seen that with WCW. That's the kind of thing we see. Um, PW Torch adds this, that there were rumors circulating that if WWE purchased WWE, the good chance be purchasing Wrestling World Wrestling Network, which is where they show many other wrestling promotions that they have on their network. The rumors are no, they're not doing that. The owner, what I think his name is Salhani Hamahon, hopefully I got it right. He is not going to be selling the network to WWE. They're still going to be operating under their own condition, but in a month, all things that is evolved is going to be removed. So does Dragon Gate USA. So is the early footage of Full Impact Pro. So WWE has the rights of that, of all those tapings. So it's going to be interesting. Um, Not sure yet what's going to happen, if they're going to continue to use the Evolve name, because there were rumors in the previous episode that I mentioned that they were planning to use maybe Evolve as a developmental program as well. Now that NXT is now on live TV, as you recall, NXT was developmental program, but you only saw that in the WWE network. We're not sure yet what exactly it's going to be now. But I will stay close to this, find out more information on anything else that's been developed, what's going to happen to the wrestlers who make appearance there. I don't know if there's any of those who are full-time contracts. I'm not sure. So I'll stick a pin on this one, and we're going to find out more. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I must bid all of you adieu. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.